Alright guys, NHL hockey is finally back after one long offseason. And this season specifically, it's just feeling a bit different. We're entering a major transition period where many of the bottom teams, many of the teams that have been finishing, near the bottom of the league for a couple of years, they're starting to get much better. And then on the other hand, some of the more dominant teams, they're starting to trend downward. Which means for teams like the Vancouver Canucks, the Rangers, the Arizona Coyotes, the New Jersey Devils, and many more teams, they're now in the competition for that, wild card playoff spot. And specifically for the Rangers and Devils, who both had obviously massive off seasons, acquiring guys like Panarin, Subban, Gusev, and of course drafting both Hughes and Kakko. These teams specifically, they're going to see, I guess, what I would consider a rapid rebuild, which may end up putting them in a playoff spot. And the whole NHL just in general is going to be very interesting because again, we're seeing some of these more bottom teams on the uprise, and then we're seeing a lot more, dominant teams starting to trend downwards. So they're going to intersect, and it's going to mean that there's going to be, that closer, tight-knit playoff race, which is going to be so entertaining to watch. But back on the topic of the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks, they're just feeling a bit different this year. The Canucks haven't seen the playoffs in, 5 years. And honestly, they haven't been a serious contender in probably, I would say, 8 years. The team is getting older. Mike Gillis just wasn't drafting. I mean, he drafted Bo. But, the team just wasn't as exciting. Not a lot of youth. And the Vancouver Canucks, for the longest time, were just at an all-time low for players being drafted who are actually part of the roster. For a long period of time, it was kind of embarrassing because Mike Gillis, he either just wasn't drafting well, or he'd trade away all the potential guys that we drafted that would make the roster. But heading into the season, and now that we're in the season, I've said this many times, and I've also heard this many times. The Canucks this season, they just seem different. There is a brand new exciting vibe to the team, a feeling, in my opinion, that just hasn't been there in years. Yes, we have been privileged to see Bo Horvat develop into the great player, the great leader that he is today. We got to see Boeser light up the league, specifically lighting up Matt Murray. I mean, for Matt Murray, technically it was a fluke.
Pretty much all the goals he got were kind of hilarious if you think about it.
And then of course this past season we were blessed to see our Lord and Savior Elias Pettersson, who ended up obviously dominating the league and taking home the Calder Trophy. And going into the 2019-2020 season, we get to see yet another rookie phenom in Quinn Hughes. Of course, Quinn Hughes was drafted 7th overall in 2018, and Quinn Hughes is the definition of a modern-day offensive defenseman. Quinn Hughes has tremendous skating ability. Personally, and you may not agree with me, and I may be a bit biased, I'm going to be honest, but I personally believe that Quinn Hughes has that more generational skating ability. His edges, his stride, his quickness is something that very few people in the NHL today actually possess. And combined with his overwhelming confidence, great hands, and just elite vision, he makes up one very efficient yet amazing transition game, and he's honestly already looking like probably the best power play quarterback that the Vancouver Canucks have ever had in probably team history. In the 6 games that I've seen Quinn Hughes play for the Vancouver Canucks, I have just been absolutely blown away. He does things on the ice that just no other Canucks defenseman can do. And interestingly enough, I just saw a stat on the first game versus the Edmonton Oilers for Quinn Hughes, and Hughes had the most offensive zone possession time than anyone else on the ice during this whole game, and yes, that includes Connor McDavid. Quinn Hughes, a defenseman, a rookie defenseman, had more possession time in the offensive zone than Connor McDavid. Isn't that just crazy? And yes, of course, this is only one game, but come on, more possession time than Connor McDavid, is that not just a crazy stat? Hughes is really special, and he's going to be a big part of the Canucks' future going on. And that's just the thing. The Canucks haven't had an amazing elite player like Elias Pettersson in decades. I mean, besides the Sedins, but in terms of that more electrifying skill, we haven't seen that since like Pavel Bure. And the other thing is, the Canucks have never had a defenseman as talented as Quinn Hughes in history. And don't get me wrong, I still do feel like the Canucks have some major holes in our lineups. Specifically, a more complete top 2 defenseman, but I mean through some great drafting by Benning. If players like Jet Wu and Olli Levy both develop into serviceable defensemen, we could see much better blue line depth for the future. Not to mention guys like Cole Lind, Puck Colson, Niels Hoglander, Tyler Madden, and Mikey DiPietro. And a question for you guys, in terms of like prospects, not just for the Vancouver Canucks, but for the NHL just in general, would you guys like to see, I guess, kind of like prospect updates? For example, I guess the Vancouver Canucks now have a diverse prospect pool. Vasily Podkolzin in Russia, Tyler Madden in college hockey, or just AHL squad updates. Would that be something that you guys are interested in doing? I've been thinking about it. I'm not sure how often I'm going to do it. But for example, seeing guys like Vasily Podkolzin and Niels Höglander developing, across the world, it might be a bit interesting if I actually broke down and actually went through all their games and how they are developing. For example, Niels Höglander just got suspended. Go watch Lego Rock's video on it, but would you guys be interested in those types of videos? Let me know. Now on the topic of Vancouver Canucks goaltending, because that is also a big factor driving the Canucks' success and why we just feel different this season, or heading into this season. Jacob Markstrom just came off a career year. Now, if you're not a Canucks fan, you may not be able to notice it from first glance, but if you watch Vancouver on a regular basis, he just developed. He played out of his mind last season. Of course, we didn't make the playoffs, and he didn't have a lot of defensive help, but Jacob Markstrom is developing into that, that starting goaltender in which many people thought he was always going to be. It took some time, like goaltenders usually do, but Jacob Markstrom is looking fantastic, and even in his game against Edmonton, he looked great. Thatcher Demko, on the other hand, another product of Jim Benning's drafting. I mean, we drafted, I guess, Jake Virtanen, but we did at least draft Thatcher Demko in the second round. Demko has been looking great. Last season, he had some great stints, and hopefully we get to see some more games out of him this year. But overall, Mikey DiPietro, Demko, Markstrom, it's all going to be so entertaining to watch, and I hope to see Demko get some success, and Markstrom just keeps dominating the way he was. It's funny because a lot of analysts kind of discuss how are we going to sign Pettersson, how are we going to sign Quinn Hughes, but I think the most interesting debate is that Markstrom's contract ends after this season, and I guess Thatcher Demko's contract ends after, not next season, but the season after. And it's going to be really interesting to see what Jim Benning does, because I'm guessing Markstrom's going to want that long-term contract. However, if Demko is in the position where he can kind of take over that starting goaltender spot in a couple years, what are we going to see there? I feel like there's going to be a bit of drama there, but it's going to be really interesting to see if we lock down Markstrom or if we wait to commit to Thatcher Demko. The Canucks are forming into a very competitive team today, and arguably a playoff team. And considering that the Canucks still have so many prospects just priming in the pipeline to eventually make the step into the NHL just to add to the Canucks' depth, it's honestly just crazy. Jim Benning tends to get a lot of hate. He took over in 2014 just before the Jake Virtanen draft, and after signing Louis Eriksson to his $36 million contract, he left a lot of salt in a lot of fans' mouths. I mean, deservingly. And honestly, since Benning took over, the Canucks have been, riding that fine line of being more respectable or being a complete dumpster fire. But mark my words, although losing, translating into good drafting, it will pay off. And Jimbo, of course, like we've seen before, he's made some mistakes, but is a fantastic drafter. Boeser, Pettersson, Hughes, Demko, right there, it's just a good enough foundation to build any team on. And building a foundation on those players is exactly what's happening now in Vancouver. After a risky acquisition in JT Miller at the draft, who already is looking like he's meshing very well with our captain, Horvat captain, as well as some big free agent signings in Michael Furlan and Tyler Myers, the Canucks have much better depth, much better winger support, and much better secondary scoring. And just overall, a much better look. We don't have Eric Branson and Derek Pouliot on our blue line anymore, guys. Isn't that enough? I'm probably going to make a video soon on my first impressions on the whole Vancouver Canucks lineup and what I've been seeing for the first couple games. But for a quick recap, this is what I've been seeing so far. Quinn Hughes is an absolute stud. Tyler Myers was moving the puck very well, and already looks like he's a great addition to our blue line. Jordy Ben probably seems like the best signing that Jim Benning has ever made since he took over, I guess, as general manager of the Vancouver Canucks. JT Miller has been vibing very well alongside of Horvat. He has a great defensive game and already put up his first assist. Overall, the team looked great. They lost against Edmonton Oilers, but we lost with a lot of positives. It is now time to be excited if you are a Canucks fan. And if we could stay healthy, knock on wood, I've never been personally so excited for Canucks season ever. But anyways, guys, how do you guys feel about this new Vancouver Canucks core? Do we have something special here, or is it just gonna lead us to more non-Stanley Cup failure? Let me know what you guys think down below. How did you guys think Quinn Hughes looked? I think he looks fantastic. How did all the new additions look? Again, I think they looked great. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna be live streaming the Calgary Flames game tonight. So I hope you guys tune in. It's gonna be on YouTube. So I hope to see you guys there. Last stream we had a lot of fun, and surprisingly we had over 1,400 people tune into the stream, which is just absolutely crazy. Also, guys, make sure to hit up my Twitch down below. We've been live streaming so much HUT, so much franchise mode. So make sure to hit that follow button down below. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think about this brand new Canucks core. See you guys later.